Okay, boxing fans, this fight, Jamie McDonnell, 20 wins, 9 of which by way of knockout, to 2 defeats and also a draw thrown in there somewhere too, against Julio Ceja, 24 wins, undefeated, 22 of those wins coming by way of knockout, is for the IBF Bantamweight title that was recently vacated by Leo Santa Cruz as he's moved up in weight. This is the first real world level test for both fighters. It's for the vacant title, like I said, and Julio Ceja is actually only 20 years old. He's got a very impressive record for someone of that age, and even though the opposition is a little bit padded and a bit disappointing, this guy, like I said, is only 20 years old, so he can get a pass from me, knocking out guys who are older than him and wiser than him. People forget. Look at Jamie McDonnell. He's also never really faced any world level opponents, top quality opponents that is. However, he has unified the British, Commonwealth and European titles, so it's only obvious that he is ready now for the world scene. If he's ready for this type of opponent, I'm not so sure. His best fight's probably against Stuart Hall, in which he did unify all those titles, and it was a good night for him. Sometimes he does have cold nights in the boxing ring against the likes of, Lee Haskins, who he did lose to, and also Ian Napper, who in my opinion he should have lost to. He cannot afford tonight to have a cold night. He has to be 110% on his game. However, there's two ways this fight can go, and it really depends on how Jamie McDonnell approaches this fight. You see, the most important thing is he does have home advantage, and he needs to get the crowd behind him. He needs to, rack up a load of rounds, and he needs to take this to the decision. He needs to really forget about winning via knockout. He doesn't have to win this fight by a knockout, and he shouldn't even think about it. Sorry, I just got a phone call. I had to take that. So yeah, he shouldn't really think about winning this via knockout. Just focus on this going to a decision, which is the most important thing. And going into the attributes that both fighters have, Julio Ceja has got the power in this fight. We do know that. He is a very big puncher with a 90% KO ratio. I've been watching him on his highlights, a few of his fights, and he's very precise puncher. He uses nice combinations. He's got very sharp punches, and he's also very accurate. He's not a very wild fighter. You think of people like Marcus Maidana. He's not that type of fighter. He's more, I don't know, Keith Thurman, maybe Lucas Matisse type of puncher instead. He does like to hit to both the head and body, and he can switch it up. And that's going to be a big problem for someone like Jamie McDonnell. I'm not saying he's got a bad chin. He's got a good chin, but he seems to let his chin get tested every now and again. And against someone who's been knocking out 90% of the opponents, you don't want to stand there and let him tee off on your chin every now and again, or on your body, because there's no way you can protect your body from punches the way you can your chin. Going back to Jamie McDonnell in terms of power, his power is pretty much low to non-existent. Only 9 knockouts in his record. It's not a great thing. His last opponent pretty much soaked up everything he had, and it must be demoralising for him that he doesn't punch that hard. He does throw his combinations. However, he does have a good jab. He gets stuck in. You got to give him that. And he keeps trying to get that knockout, but it's just not coming. He just doesn't have that heavy-handed power that some guys like this Ceja seem to be, born with. And I guess he doesn't have that killer instinct either. Moving on to where Jamie McDonnell does hold a massive advantage, it's both speed and movement. He's a very good mover when he wants to be, and in this fight he'll have to be. He's also got a good jab which he can use. Stick that nice jab. Now, if he uses both the speed and the movement, sticks the jab, keeps on his bike, keeps resetting the angles, keeps Julio Ceja off balance, so he can't use his power shots as much, and keeps Ceja on the move so he can't set his feet and really build up that power, then there's a good chance he could win this fight via a punch decision. It's definitely not impossible, and that will be the greatest way he could do it. Incorporating a lot of movement, probably fighting this fight similar to how Devon Alexander fights his fights against big punchers. Even though that they're not the most exciting fights, they are wins nonetheless. I've got to give Devon, credit for that. However, the problem for Jamie McDonnell is his boxing style. He likes to get stuck in sometimes, wears his heart on his sleeve, doesn't mind fighting in the trenches. When the going gets tough, it's not like he gets on his bike and runs away. When the going gets tough, he gets in the trenches and he fights, heart, with his heart on his sleeve, toe to toe, mano a mano. And even though he doesn't knock those guys out, he can take that, he can soak up damage, and the other guys end up soaking up his shots too. But the point is, do you really want to be in the trenches with a guy who's got a 90% KO ratio? You understand what I'm saying? Now, one thing I will say is, and this is a bit of a disclaimer, Julio Ceja is a big puncher on his CV, but he's never really fought a big fight, let's say that. He's never really fought a big fight. So now that he's in there with someone like Jamie McDonnell, who is a intermediate type name, intermediate fighter, definitely on the world stage. Is he world level? Not sure. You can make your own opinion on if he's world level. We'll see if he's actually a huge hitter. Okay? But the point being, both fighters could win this fight if they fight to their strengths. The only thing is, Jamie McDonnell from time to time fights to his opponent's strength, and therefore gets beat. That's the point. That he's got beat twice, maybe 3 times if you count Ian Napa. Sometimes he doesn't fight the way he should do and gets beat. Julio Ceja has not yet got beaten yet, and he's a big puncher, and I expect him to try and fight the style of fight that will make him win. Jamie McDonnell, so he could win on points. Jamie McDonnell. If I'm going to put money on it, which I will, I'm going to split my money in 2. I'll be putting not much money, but a tenner each, £10 on Julio Ceja late knockouts of the rounds, 7-12, and also Jamie McDonnell via a points decision. So Jamie McDonnell could win, and it wouldn't be a huge upset if he won this title fight. But I would say the favourite should be Julio Ceja via knockout, and I'll be going with Julio Ceja via knockout as my prediction.